the next topic that we plan to cover is about workflows, approval processes, and process builders. This entire topic is divided into two sessions. So, any guesses from anyone what a workflow means?
Yeah, workflow is the means work of action like from one person to other person. If one task is completed, what is the next task? Flow from one attached to other task.
So, what workflow means is basically whenever you want to automate something, that when a particular condition is met and you want to do something based on that condition, you use a workflow. For example, let's say whenever a new record is created for our JanBask object, you want to send out an email that can be achieved via a workflow process. So workflow means anything that you want to automate based on certain conditions. Then you can use workflows. So let me show you an example of how workflows work. Okay, so I want you guys to go to setup. Under setup, in the create section, there is a section for workflows and approvals. Inside that, there is a link for workflow rules. Okay. So for example, let's say I have created this particular workflow that we want to discuss for now. What I'm trying to say here is whenever somebody is entering a new record into JanBask 1, my administrators are not sure whether the record that has been entered is valid or not. So they have kind of put a workflow here to check for what kind of fee is being entered for the record. There is a check on what kind of fee can be put here. So what I have done, I have created a workflow rule that whenever the training fee is greater than 400, there is going to be a task created that says expensive training. Right. So let's see what happens. So you see there is a task that got created that says expensive training. So I'm going to explain you what is the significance of this and why we are doing this. but I just wanted to show you how it is behaving first. So let's understand what is being done here. There are a couple of parts to a workflow. First one is the rule name that says approve big fee records. What object is it related to? I am creating this workflow on the JanBask one object. Then I'm going to explain this in a couple of minutes. What is the rule criteria? The rule criteria that I have set is that whenever the training fee is greater than 400, execute these workflow actions. So what are the workflow actions that I want to execute? I want to create a task that says expensive training. Now you can create a couple of things or you can do a couple of things in workflows. We are going to come back to that. First, let's discuss what an evaluation criteria means. Let me edit this. Now there are three types of evaluation criteria that you can choose. The first one is that this workflow will be fired only when the record is created. For example, whenever I insert a new record, it is going to be fired only then, right? Second, every time it is created and edited. Whenever I make changes to any of the fields, this workflow rule will be fired. And the third one being every time it is created and edited to subsequently meet the criteria. Now, what this means is that only when changes to this particular field are made so that your conditions are met. For example, if it was less than 400 and you made a change to make it to more than 400, only then this workflow rule will be fired. Upon creation, one thing is common in all the three conditions that whenever a new record is created, it is going to be fired. That is common. Now, the only difference between these three is of the condition upon its edit. In this second condition, every time the record is edited, this rule will be fired. Whereas in the third one, it will only be fired when changes to this particular field is made. It will not be fired if changes to any other field are made. So in most of the practical scenarios, what you see is you see the third condition being selected or the first condition being selected. Either only when the record is created or when it is created and edited to subsequently meet the criteria. Now, once you set the evaluation criteria, you set the rule criteria here. Like for example, I want to set that the training fee is greater than 400. That is my condition and you click on save. Now, assuming that all these conditions are met, what is the action that I want to perform? So there are four types of action that you can perform in a workflow. Let's take a look at them. The first one being a new task can be created. That is what we are doing currently. Here, if you see, a new task has been created, expensive training. So that is one kind of activity that you can perform. Second is you can send out an email alert. If you go to the new email alert, you can send out, you can put a description for your task, unique name, and what email template you want to use. We'll come back to what email templates are. That is a part of this topic only. We'll discuss what email templates are. Email templates basically mean what should be the matter of the email that you're sending out. So we will discuss how to create those email templates. Then you select the email template and who should be the recipient, to which user you want to send out an email to. And if there are any additional email addresses, you can put them here. And what should be the from email address, like who is sending the user, who is sending the email. So once you click on save, you can send out an email. The third type is new field update. So what you can do based on this particular condition, you can update some other field. Let's say I want to update a field.
Hi, Kunal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, so sorry. I dropped off because of a network issue. Just had a question, Kunal. I don't know if you mentioned that during the time I dropped off. What exactly is a task here?
Yeah, we'll discuss what a task is.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so for now, I have created one more type of workflow action, that is the third type, that says field update. So what I'm doing, okay, so all of you remember what the condition of my workflow is, that it is created and anytime it is subsequently edited to meet the criteria. So I want to understand, will if I make any changes to any field, will the workflow be fired? If yes, why yes? If not, why not? I need input from you guys. If I edit, this is my record. I've clicked on cancel. So this is my record. If I edit any of the field, including the training fee, even if I edit the training fee, will the workflow rule be fired or not?
If you make the change to the training fee and that too it is more than 400, then it will fire.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
If you selected the third option while creating, then it would fire the.
I've already selected the third option that says created and it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria.
Okay.
So will it be fired or not?
Yes, if since the third option was selected, so it will fire if any changes are made.
Mhm. Okay, so the correct answer to that is no, it will not be fired because this particular statement that says subsequently meet criteria, this is not being met because the criteria is already met. It is already over 400. Any changes that I'm making to it are not subsequently meeting the criteria. Criteria was already met before I made any changes to the record. So it will not be fired. If the case were like it was under 400 and now after I edit, because of my editing the criteria is being met, only then it will be fired. So this particular statement that says edited to subsequently meet criteria means that your record was not meeting the criteria earlier. After you made updates to it, it has started to meet the criteria. So you see, after I made it, it has updated the batch size to expensive. Right? This is the field update that I made.
And if you bring it down to 399, would that fire the workflow?
No, if I'm, it will not roll back the changes. If I
It
make
will
it
not.
390,
Yes. Right.
it'll not roll back the changes that we did.
But it is not expensive, right?
Yeah, it is not expensive, but it was expensive at one stage, so it updated this field. So you
Okay.
need to take care of these conditions as well. That if somebody brings down the training fee again, so what should
Mhm.
happen? So you should create another workflow, or you should handle it in some other way. There are other ways to handle it. So in some other way, you should handle that if somebody makes an update again, then the changes should be rolled back or it should be overwritten with some other values.
So can we just make the changes in the batch size? So
Yes, you
like,
can. It is perfectly editable. You can put anything.
no, like for example, you did something for batch size, right? Um, like for example, if it goes over 400, then it becomes then the batch size shows expensive. But let's say
Mhm.
if it's less than 400, then can the batch size field change to not expensive, something like that?
Yes, definitely. You can create another workflow rule for that.
Oh, okay, got it, got it.
So, for example, there is a rule criteria that says training fee greater than 400. You can create a workflow rule criteria that says training fee less than 400. So in
Understood.
that case, you can update it to not expensive. Okay. So the last kind of thing that you can perform with the workflow is sending an outbound message. This particular option is used when you are integrating Salesforce with some third party system where there are REST APIs involved. So we are not going to dig much into this because we do not have we have not covered integrations as of now. This is basically used when you want to send out information about certain fields to some third party system. In that case, you need to provide your REST API endpoint URL. You provide your URL here and you select the fields for which you want to send the data. You add it and then you fill in the selected fields and you click on save. Your data would be sent to the third party system. So the limitations of workflows are that you can only add these four kind of actions. You cannot do anything beyond these four types. Either you can create a task, you can send out an email, you can make updates to a field, or you can send out an outbound message. If you wanted to do something else, you cannot do it by using a workflow, right? This is one thing. And the second kind of workflow actions that you can perform are time dependent actions. Now, when I say time dependent actions, for that we need to first understand what a task is. Now, tasks is something you can understand as which require approval or which require completion. For example, I am supposed to be starting this training from 22nd of October. Let's suppose let me edit this date to be next month. Let's say this is 22nd November. Right. So, for example, I'm supposed to start this training on 22nd November, but before that, I need to complete certain tasks. Like the course material should be ready, the students list should be approved, there should be appropriate network arranged, there should be appropriate meetings created. So, all of those kind of become tasks or activities for you that you need to complete before you actually start the batch. You need to contact the students, you need to get a confirmation from the students, then you need to get the course material ready. So what you can do, you can create a workflow rule that says whenever a new record is created, create certain tasks under it. Like for example, all of these tasks have a status under it, a status column mapped to it. So what I'll do, I'll create a task that would say create course material, and its due date will be 10 days before the course starts. So its due date will be 12th of November. So what happens? Let's say I'll show you how to do that. Let's say I'll create a, it is going to be time dependent. I'm going to create a new task. Who should it be assigned to? I'm going to assign it to myself. What should be the status? Create course material. The priority is high. It is an important task. Now, what should be the due date? Due date should be start date minus 10 days and click on save. Okay. So for now, it is only being fired for training greater than 400, but the actual condition, this condition should be for all the records that are created, right? So don't mind the condition that is being put here. I'm just trying to show you the concept behind it. Did I not activate it? Okay, so since this is an active rule, I had to deactivate it and then I need to create a workflow action.
Kunal, I think you have to change the start date, right? You put -10. So,
So yes. So you see now the task has been created that says create course material with a due date of 10 days before your batch start date. And its status is currently not started. So if I click on edit, I can change its status to in progress. Now it will show that it is in progress. I can again edit it and check it to completed. So task, this is the definition of tasks that you can create tasks that require completion for your activities to be performed. For example, I took an example of the batch to be started on 22nd November. You can take other real life examples as well. Like if you're talking about the account details, you can say that KYC needs to be done. The customer needs to be contacted and his interest needs to be captured. The paperwork needs to be done. The income proofs are to be verified. So all the things that you can think of from a activities perspective, you can put them as tasks. And if there are other tasks that you want to create manually, you can do that by clicking on the new task button as well.
Kunal, one question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say means some kind of debt which is related to the can be expire. Okay. So if let's say I want to kind of get an alert at least 1 month before, so in that case I have to use this schedule time, that kind of task, right? Not
Yeah,
the
so
email trigger task.
whenever you have a 1 month period, you can say minus 30 days from the start date.
So means, my question is whether I am going to use the email alert or the time driven task.
What you want to do? I think I did not understand
What's
your
your face,
question.
Lady?
Yeah, my question is, let's say the start date is kind of, it is going to start on 11/22, but I want to just 1 week before I have to send the information email alert to the recipient or somebody. So in that case, whether I'll just set up a email trigger task or email alert task or the time driven task, which one?
So in that you need to do a time-driven task because it is going to be the email is going to be sent a couple of days before the actual start date, right? That is what your question is.
Yeah.
So you need to add a time-dependent workflow action for that. And for adding a time-dependent workflow action, first you need to deactivate this workflow. Let's deactivate it. So you can say like 10 days before the start date. And inside this, you can set an email alert. Like whatever email templates we will discuss, you can select that and you can select the users to whom it should be sent. And after you click on save, it will be displayed under the time dependent workflow actions. So this email will be triggered 10 days before your start date. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Hey, Kunal, what if the task is not acted upon? Like, if, for example, in the case you had put that create course material, if activity is not done by the person who was supposed to do it, and just in the open activities, let us say, or in either in open activities or it was a time dependent activity which was created, but the person did not do it. So
Right. So we'll see something that is this button that says submit for approval, right?
yeah.
So in one of our sessions, in one of our programming sessions, we'll understand how to create this button that says submit for approval. So idea here is that whenever somebody is trying to create a new training record, that needs to be approved. Approval will be done by an administrator, right? So when this goes for an approval, the administrator is going to check the status of the task, whether all the tasks have been completed or not. If only if the tasks have been completed, he is going to approve this training. Otherwise, he is going to send it back to the user that please complete the activities that are open and then submit for approval.
Right. So
So there is an approval process associated.
okay. So just to like, if I can like, so what workflow is that? Workflow is basically, it can be a task, it can be a field update, or it can be any kind of activity. It's basically a rule to trigger an activity for some kind of record, right?
Yeah.
Entry to a record, right? For some other, like for some end user or whoever it might be.
Mhm.
Using the Salesforce system, correct?
Correct. So I know that whenever a training record is created,
Mhm.
certain tasks needs to be done for every training, like the course material needs to be done or the students need to be confirmed.
Right,
So all of those tasks are mandatory and need to be done for every training, right?
right.
So what I can do I can create a workflow rule that says every time a record is created,
Mhm.
create these tasks
Yes.
so that the tasks are automatically added to the list of approval activities that need to be done.
So this has like, so workflows have to be done for like the that particular. So we from the for any standard object or custom object we can create workflows, right?
Right.
And Kunal, status of those tasks, do we change them manually or they automatically get changed like in progress and finished or whatever status will be? So is it like automatically changes with the dates or is it we have to go and manually do it?
You can only set the initial status from the workflow, in which status should the task be created, but then you have to make them updates to it manually after you do some work upon it. You can only set the initial state. It should be either not started or in progress. But after it has been added to this list, you have to manually click on edit and make updates to its status.
Okay. And one more, this is workflow, like what the task and things we are doing right now. It is different than the triggers, right? Or it is the same?
No, it's different. It's completely different.
Okay. So trigger part we still have to do, right?
The triggers we'll be covering when we do the programming sessions because that
Okay.
require coding.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now I want you guys to take 5 minutes to practice and try to create a new workflow rule. And you can try to create this one. It is just another dummy task. It does not have any real life significance. The rule criteria says that the number of students is less than 25. The criteria is every time a record is created or it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. And once these conditions are met, it is going to create two tasks under it. One is dummy task and the second one is approve this. So you can create any two tasks that you like, not necessarily these same names. I just wanted to give a practice to create a workflow rule and activate and see it in action. So I think it should take 5 minutes. I'm going to wait here for 5 minutes so you can try to create
While,
a work.
sorry, while you're creating it, you were like deactivating one workflow to create another workflow. Is that the process? Like,
No. You can have multiple workflows activated at the same time.
can you just like run the path once again? I disconnected.
Okay, so you need to go to setup.
Mhm,
Under setup, expand the create section.
mhm,
Inside the create section, expand the workflow and approvals.
mhm.
Click on workflow rules.
Okay.
From here, you can create.
Okay.
we Kunal, we are making a workflow rule in the object JanBask one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Kunal, I've made the workflow rule. Then the next with step 3 of 3 says there are two. It says add workflow action and then add time trigger. So in this case, I got to do add workflow action.
Yes. For now, you need to add the workflow action.
And do I do new email alert or new field update?
New task.
New task?
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't show new task. So there's new field alert, new field update, new outbound message, and then select existing action.
Okay. You want to share your screen? Mm-hmm. Okay. Click on add workflow action. Okay. All right. So for you, the tasks have not been enabled. 1 second. I'll just guide you what to do. 1 second.
Same thing is for me.
So I guess all of you would be facing this issue. So can you please follow on Clifford's screen for a second? I'll show you what to do in case you're not able to see a new task. Uh, Clifford, I want you to open another tab. Go to another tab.
Okay.
Open the same Salesforce instance. Go to setup.
Mhm.
Open your object JanBask 1. Click on edit. Scroll down. So you see in the optional features, we have not enabled activities for this particular object. We have not allowed users to create tasks or activities for this particular object. So we need to check that box and that says allow activities and click on save. Now you try to go back and try to create an, yeah.
So what do I do? Like, oh, at time? No.
From the add workflow action, you got the option of creating a new task.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. And what's the task again? Sorry.
Any dummy task you can create. It's not relevant. Whatever you feel like you can create.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Do you want me to stop sharing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can you go through that, how to enable that again? Sorry.
Sure. You need to go to your setup.
Object? Uh-huh.
In the setup, you need to go to your object.
Okay.
In the object, click on the edit button
Okay.
and scroll down to the optional features and select allow activities.
Allow activity. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Kunal, I'm actually stuck at the first step. So I want to create workflow and approvals. I clicked on workflow rules, and now I am in the object. Select the step one is select object. Select the object to which the workflow rule applies. The JanBask object. I have to select JanBask, the object I created from there, right? And then
You
next.
need to select the JanBask object.
Okay, and then edit rule criteria. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Kunal, can I share the screen? I am stuck at the point like where it is asking me new field update, and I don't know what to do with that.
Because we are trying to make a field update. You're not trying to create a task.
I was doing I created the workflow and then I said save and next, then it went to the screen and I don't know what.
Click on cancel and show me what you did.
I was just till the workflow. I was just creating workflow still.
Click
So
on
I
add
did.
work.
Say again.
Yes. Click on add workflow action.
So I
Click
did
on.
a new field update.
We are trying to create a new task here first.
Okay. So this one,
Yeah.
and then so this will be the task name.
Correct.
What do I do here?
What should be the due date for this particular task? When do you want to set a completion date? So you can set it to be JanBask start date minus any number of days that you like.
Okay. This is for that number of student we are doing, right?
Yeah, this is just an example. You can do it for any type type of task you like.
That's it.
Yeah, now click on done and click on activate.
Okay.
Now go to your JanBask and try to create a record.
So any right? Okay. Do I create a new record or I can just do the existing one?
In this, update the number of students. First, make it more than 25. More than 25.
Oh.
Then, okay, start. Make the start date to be in the future. Click on. Yes. Now make the number of students under 25.
What is so nothing happened.
Okay, so your workflow did not fire. Let me check what happened.
Okay.
So you see, it got created. It's just that it was not visible because this open activity is what not was not added on your page layout.
Oh, okay.
So it was being created in the background but was not visible.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you make it visible again? How do you go back to this? I think I'm having
So
the
you
same issue.
click on, so you click on the edit layout.
Okay.
Once you click on the edit layout,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
scroll
Gotcha.
down to related list,
Okay.
and in the related list you an activity history.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Kunal. Should I stop sharing?
Yes, please.
So we can create any number of workflow rules one after another, right now.
Yes, so any number of workflow rules can be created and they can be active at the same time.
While I'm facing some issues, I mean, I created everything, and I checked that my activity thing is enabled, but I still can't see the results.
Okay, so can you share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, click on edit layout,
Mm,
click on related lists. Yes, drag and drop open activities.
which one?
Open activities
Okay.
and click on save. Okay, so let me just request control.
Oh, I think I forgot to activate it. Okay, got it. Yeah, I got where I missed. Thank you.
Sorry, Kunal. I went to my JanBask one and I went to edit layout. I cannot. So basically, what I did was I went to edit layout, and the number of students field was not there. I put it back in there. It's still not showing.
Okay, you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Dilpreet, can you stop sharing?
Yeah.
So number of students is added over here. I
Mhm.
went ahead and clicked save. Doesn't show anywhere. Set in. Oh, okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And since we're there, can I just try if it's working? Uh, oh, yeah, you did that already. So.
Hey Kunal, since Clifford is doing this, I had a question regarding this, the firing of the workflow. I just one doubt regarding when the workflow is fired. Like, you explained that the first time. I have a little doubt about it. When exactly, like from an end user perspective, like let us say Clifford created and like I created Clifford is currently like the end user and something he does and the number of student will fire. So when exactly will that workflow fire in this example? Like we
So
all
as soon as the number of students become under 25, that is when your workflow is fired, because that is what the criteria for the workflow rule is. If you look here, the workflow rule is number of students less than 25. So
right,
as soon as I make it less than 25, as soon as I edit it,
right.
click on edit. As soon as I make it under 25,
Should it should fire that workflow.
it's going to fire the workflow rule. Although the open activities is not added, I think. So let me
Yeah.
scroll.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Kunal. Should I stop sharing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kunal, what was the second task you told us to create? And do we just go to the same workflow and create new task, or we create another workflow for that?
In the same workflow, you can create multiple tasks, and it is not any. You can create any task. I was not talking about any specific task.
Uh-huh.
You can just create any task that you.
I tried to create another task, but it never asked me which field I want to put it on. I mean, it just asked me the rule, due date, and like a name and object.
Yes,
That's all.
because you have mentioned the workflow rule that the number of students should be less than 25. Only
Uh-huh.
there you can create the condition. You cannot create different condition within a workflow. A workflow will have only one condition.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Kano, can I share my screen? I don't, my open activity or activity history is not, basically my workflow is not triggering for some reason. Yeah.
1 second.
Open. So I created a dummy task, and this is a
It's
dummy
not
row.
active. You need to click on activate.
I see. Not active.
No, don't click on edit. Go back. There's a button called activate.
Activate. Okay. Got it. Oh my God.
First, you need to make it more than 25.
Oh, I have a different rule. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Kunal, I have a question here. So if we create two workflows, we cannot have two workflows running at the same time on the same object.
We can have.
For example, I just created another rule where I said, okay, if anyone if the training name is Salesforce, then we need to do these two tasks. But when I'm creating a new record, entering a new record from the tab, the JanBask 1 tab, it's still showing me the first two ones that we created. Or maybe
Okay,
we
you wanna
need to
share your?
activate both, right?
Yes, you need to activate both.
Okay, let me see if I did that. So we should be able to see like 4 tasks.
Yeah, based on what you have done in the second workflow.
Mm-hmm. I still see 2.
Okay, you wanna share your screen?
Yes, please. So in this one, I have the train. Okay. So I don't know what was happening back there. Okay. Maybe that was just a previous record, so it didn't do it.
Probably.
Thank you.
Hey, Kunal,
Yeah.
what would be the difference between a new task on an existing workflow and a new workflow itself?
It will be based on the entry criteria, right?
So the new task will have the same evaluation criteria.
If you create it in the same workflow, it will be evaluated for the same condition. But if
Right.
you want to evaluate some other condition, like Dilpreet wanted to evaluate the training name.
Right.
So if instead of the number of students, you are evaluating the training name, then you need to create a different workflow. If you want to make a new task based on the same field changes, you can create within the same workflow.
Okay. 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 Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so all right, guys, this is about the workflows that we wanted to discuss today. Take a look at what approval process and process builders mean, and that would cover our session on workflows, process builders, and approval processes. So tomorrow we'll take a look at the pending topics, process builders, and approval process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. Good night.